Pie. Mr. Pie, Mr. Pubes. No good way to spin that one.
No, there really isn't. There really is not.
P cubed.
I wonder if I'm the one actually holding us up this game.
No, I think it's Mr. Pie.
Yeah, he hasn't even...
I think it's been him each game.
He hasn't even shown a loading bar for me at all.
Yeah, there he goes.
So, while we wait for these players' terrible computers to load in, let's give ourselves some plugs. I am Phegan. You can find me on Twitter at Phegan, Phegan. I'm casting with Pyronia. You can find her on Twitter on...
Pyronia.
We are both with RH Gaming, that is Relentless Heroes, and we are having Mr. Pie lag out so we can continue to do more plugs. But, great gaming community. Starcraft, Heroes of Newerth, and Diablo 3. Definitely check it out. You can find me on YouTube, where I put a whole bunch of matches that I cast, including one from Dignitas Select versus Liquid Zenio that I came across last night at www.youtube.com/dpaddbags.
And also a big shout out to our wonderful sponsors. That is Zeek.com, Z33K.com. You can also follow them on Twitter at Zeek Gaming. And a shout out and thanks to our admin for the evening, who is Giant Waffle. Thank you so much. He's new to the Zeek team, and we appreciate him being here. He's doing some great stuff for the community, so expect to see more casting every day from Zeke. It'll be nice.
Yeah, he's been great, great to us on the stream this week, so I definitely have to give him props.
All right, and let's hop into our game here. So spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the loser of the first match, but winner of the second match, our teal Zerg player, Trogdor. And he is playing against the purple Terran, PewbsPoopPie, who will further be known as Mr. Pie or 3P.
Will be further known as anything but his name.
Anything but his name, yes.
So, standard wall in, and I assume, judging by the amount of minerals that are building up, we are going to see a hatch first. No? Yes, hatch first like from the Zerg player. So we're probably going to see the similar two-factory sort of build. No gas has been taken yet for Mr. Pie, so I think he will probably do something more in line with his first build from Game 1, as opposed to what he tried in Game 2 that kind of just failed miserably.
Yep, and he definitely is favoring the mech play.
I actually really enjoy mech in this matchup. So it might not be a
bad idea for him to deviate from that. I don't know.
Well, Zerg doesn't have a ton of great answers to mech. Mutas, but you need to win the positioning war. You can't really run straight into Thors. The Banelings aren't super effective against mech just because it's an inefficient trade. Broodlords are excellent against mech, but you need to get there. So it's really, you gotta make enough roaches, avoid tanks, maybe a good mix of roach muta, and if you can get it in with the mutalisks, you can do a ton of damage. But if you get the bronze ring that Mr. Pie had in the last game, it's going to make a huge difference.
Alright, and so yes, our expansion about halfway done for both, I guess it's almost done for Trogdor, but halfway done for Terran. So it's coming up quite quickly here, so they're both going to be fairly equal as far as economy goes.
And here come the two gases, so we are going to see what I presume is going to be the same build as at Game 1, which is going to be the double factory starport into Hellions and Banshees, and then just kind of cut the map in half and get a giant army and push.
Yep, I would agree with that. So we'll see how our Zerg player responds. He's probably going to need to be sending in his Overlord to scout, since he hasn't gotten any information, and there's a nice wall up there.
Very early Evo chamber. So he is afraid of Banshees again. He is still mining gas, so I think we're going to see a Roach Warren fairly soon, or a Fast Lair.
And realistically, he actually got melee attacks +1 relatively quickly last game, so it could be that he's planning on going upgrades again. So his Evo Chamber will get him some extra protection as well as some upgrades.
Yeah, I think he was afraid of the Banshees, but he said, hey, I already have an Evo Chamber up, let's make use of it.
Yep, and there goes our first factory down. And that Ling did not see anything.
And the +1 has...
second factory down there.
+1 has started for the Zerg, so he's making use of that evolution chamber, as well as using it for protection, which is an excellent, excellent move. Like, I was actually really impressed by his micro in the last game. His transfuses were good, that burrow was amazing, so he's definitely, in situations, he definitely can come up big. It's just a matter of he just gets overrun by a giant mech army, and his ultras run in one at a time.
Yep, and we are having our transfer of the orbital over to the natural and a transfer of the barracks too, so we have a really strong wall up here.
The full wall. He's getting his tech lab on his first factory, and I assume we're going to see the reactor dropped any second now, and blue flames started.
Alright, and I think we might be seeing Muta play here. So we do have our lair is researching, and then we do have the 2 extractors at the expansion are taken. And we don't see the Roach Warren this time around, so I think...
Now, there is no eBay started as part of the wall. He used it in the first game, which was enabled him to make that bronze ring around his base. But he's not going to have it yet. So not only is he not going to have it, he's also not going to have the economy to throw up 1,000,000 turrets this early. So those mutas could get in and do a ton of damage if done right. He also is getting a Baneling nest. So he may just be looking for a strong Baneling push, which, as I've noted before, not huge fan of it against mech.
Well, this wall off isn't as strong as the one we saw before. You know, it is 2 supply depots. There are the bunkers there. But it's not as strong, so it could be more susceptible
to a burst.
Alright, so fast infestation pit with burrow. So I guess he's going to be going for some Baneling landmines, if I had to guess. We saw a few. He tried to do it a little bit last time.
Unless he's going to 2-base hive, which could be interesting. I've seen done before, but I'm not sure if he's going to have the gas to sustain the Broodlords. And I figure he would be dropping a Spire, too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really expecting to see the Spire there, but it looks like he wanted the extra gas for Infestors.
So the Infestation Pit has started. We will see if he gets Pathogen Glands to know his tech route. As of right now, he hasn't given much away. We do have Banshees coming up. We may already have one Banshee on the map somewhere, and we do not. So the first Banshee is coming out, as well as Cloak. There's the Pathogen Gland, so we are going to start to see some Infestors. The Hellions, 6 Hellions are out on the map, kind of just scouting around. This Queen is going to get an unfortunate death, but unfortunately those Lings are going to come in and probably get roasted too. So he needs some good hits with the Banelings here. But unfortunately, slow Banelings can be kited by Hellions.
Yeah, unfortunately Speed is just sort of biding his time for Speed there. It's almost up.
Yeah, 1 Hellion was taken out, 2 are really low. Actually, 2 Hellions and 2 are really low. So, as long as this Nexus doesn't get a Nexus, Jesus Christ, this isn't Protoss. As long as this hatchery doesn't get destroyed, he's not in terrible shape from this attack. But the Banshee does come in now, and is going to try and pick off those Lings one by one, but the Hellions do finally go down. He needs to get a Queen over there, or his Infestors, and there we go, there's the Queen, but the Banshee is now cloaked. Oh, and the Infestor might get picked off. He needs to fungal that. Does he have enough for a fungal? He does. No fungals yet.
Alright, so we'll see if this Banshee is able to pick off this hatchery before anything can get over there and...
No, here comes the Infestor, and there's the fungal. Excellent burrow to hide from the Hellions, so that Banshee is at half health, so he's going to need a couple more fungals to finish that off. He's going to probably clean up the Hellions and then fungal that, and the Queen's going to finish that off finally. So he is safe behind that third. So
still a nice job with that Banshee there. So 10 kills, 2 Queens on it.
Oh, and
not going to get that last Infestor, but
he needs that infested Terran to go and clean it up. 1 health left. Wow.
Alright, 1 health left on the 10 kill Banshee, so that Banshee worth it. Quite annoying and obnoxious there.
We do have Hive being started.
Trogdor was able to maintain his third. So as far as income goes, we've got 66 drones to 47 SCVs. We've got a lot of Hellions coming in. They're probably going to try and pick off that third. I don't know that they're going to be able to, though. Nope. cleaned off quite easily there.
And we have the Banshees attacking the third. Again, the first one goes down, and a fungal on the other one. The Queen's going to beat it up. He just needs to keep that fungled. But he needs to get an Overseer up there.
Yeah, he does.
If anything. And that hatchery, I think, is actually going to go down to these Banshees, which is going to be a huge loss. There we go. The Overseer is up. Infested Terrans have been dropped. And, it gets it just as the Banshees fall.
Just in time.
That is a huge loss for him. But he does have his hive.
But he didn't really lose any drones.
He has started a Spire. He's going to be able to get a greater Spire, and he is going to have an excellent timing for Broodlords.
I think
Viking production.
He needs that Spire sooner, though.
Still Banshee production. No Vikings have been started yet. No Ghost Academy. So those Broodlords are going to be able to find a good timing if this doesn't get scouted.
Alright, and both players are expanding again, so we've got our third breeding taken for Mr. Pie and our fourth breeding taken for Trogdor. But we have more obnoxious Banshees heading across the map.
This is just so unbelievably annoying. Those Banshees and Hellions are just annoying the hell out of him. In the meantime, he only has 3 tanks and 9 Marines, other than the Banshees and Hellions he's attacking with. So he actually doesn't have that much in the way of units. But he's just...
Yeah, but, he's being very pestering.
He absolutely is.
In his base.
But the problem is...
Greater Spire, halfway done.
Exactly, that's going to be the problem. We already have a whole bunch of Corruptors on the map. 6 of them. Well, they just finished. So he's going to be able to get Broodlords, and there is nothing to deal with Broodlords at all.
Yeah, unfortunately, his response is to get more factories, which would be good if he was building Thors, but he's got a handful of Marines there, and that's it. Turrets, but Broodlings can get past turrets.
They absolutely can.
Alright, we have one Viking on the way, but he needs to really lift off that starport and swap it to a reactor. He's just not going to be able to get enough Vikings in time.
How many Corruptors
and especially
do we
with
have
those
right
Corruptors,
now?
We've got a couple of Corruptors, so we can fungal a group of Vikings pretty easily.
By Corruptors, you mean Infestors?
Oh, yep, sorry, that's what I meant.
We do have only 6 Corruptors, 4 of which are already being morphed to Broodlords. He probably just doesn't have the gas from that harassment. Yeah, there we go. He's taking his next 2 gas. He's really just having a little bit gas-starved, so that's what he's going to need to get up. So he really needs...
He's actually a little bit behind on drones. So 64, but he was down to, I think, 58 or comparable.
Here comes the Terran pushing out. We're going to see a planetary fortress probably started here, a whole bunch of tanks sieged up, but I'm not sure he knows that the Broodlords are on the map, are pretty much on the map already. So if he protects these Broodlords right, he's actually going to end up doing more damage from the tanks than from his actual Broodlords.
Yeah.
And there's the planetary started.
Burrow, so he can go in and do some stuff with Burrow as well.
Yep. Well, there are turrets up, though, so he's not going to be able to get a ton of work done. He really needs to take
he can just get pretty close, though.
Yep. And once those turrets are taken out with the Broodlords, I mean, he'll be able to get in with the Infestors, drop a whole bunch of Infested Terran.
Alright, so as far as units, take a peek here. So we've got 32 Zerglings, 5 Broodlords, a couple Corruptors, 6 Infestors, versus 9 Marines that have no upgrades, 8 tanks, 1 Viking, a Thor, and a couple Banshees.
Yeah, and he's stopped Viking production. Here. So he's actually moved... Okay, he's got 2 starports now. 1 Viking is on the way still, and the second starport is getting the reactor to get out the Viking. So he actually needs to move with these Broodlords soon. He can't sit around for that long because Vikings are on the way. The Infestors will be helpful, but you have to worry about the tanks, because the tanks will rip through those Infestors.
Yes. Alright, so we do have a pretty sizable force out here in the middle. That planetary is going to be obnoxious, as well as all of the turrets. Not upgraded this time, but...
I think he
upgrades, we've got +1 to mech.
A whole bunch more tanks streaming across the map. He's going to get those up.
We've already got +3 to our melee.
Oh, for the Zerg? Has he gotten adrenal glands yet? I assume that's...
He does, yeah. Yep. He has adrenal glands, pretty much everything like that.
So how...
Sensor towers are going up.
8 Broodlords. So he's really going to need to engage with those Broodlords soon. He can't wait. And Terran building armor is going up. So it's going to make those towers and that planetary much more durable.
Yeah, and even more obnoxious.
But he doesn't have a lot of Vikings. So if Trogdor is actually smart, he will keep a bunch of Corruptors around to clear up the Vikings. And here we go. Here come the Broodlords. They are kind of on their own, but there's only a handful of Marines that can deal with them. So there's only 1 Thor, 2 Vikings. So the Broodlords are going to be able to get a good amount of damage done, but he needs to protect them. And the tanks, he is unsieging the tanks, which is probably the smartest thing they can do.
Yeah.
But, in that case, in come the Infestors to fungal the Vikings. And now he's sieging back up, which means that the tanks are going to do a ton of damage to his own stuff, and that planetary is about to go down. Oh, excellent fungal on all of the tanks, and they can't siege up. So the Broodlords are coming in and doing more and more damage. Whole bunch of Vikings just pop.
A lot of Vikings, though.
Yes, he needs to fungal those Vikings.
On the field here and more fungals.
2 Vikings go down to the fungals. He needs to throw down some infested Terrans under those Vikings too. But it looks like the Broodlords are going to get a lot of damage done. Those Vikings are just about dead. 1 Viking left with almost no health, so just 1 fungal is going to clear that up, and all he's got for AA is 1 Thor.
Yeah, so that was definitely nice there. He pushed at just the right time, was able to clear up that contain.
And here come all the Lings streaming in to clean up everything they can. The Hellions still do a ton of damage, but the Lings are have 3, whereas the Hellions are only +2. So while the Hellions do unbelievable amounts of damage, they were able to clear up all the Hellions, leaving only a couple tanks, but there in come the Vikings, so he is going to lose his Broodlords. But he has 12 Corruptors on the map right now. But he shouldn't engage with his Corruptors into all those towers.
Yeah. He still has some of the Infestors, so he does need to pull back, though, I think, and just remax whatever he wants.
I agree.
At this point, I feel like he could almost just remax in Lings.
He's actually falling down in supply. He's down by 20 supply. While that attack was super effective, he should have pulled out a little bit before. I mean, there's only 1 tank left on the map. There's 9 Vikings, 4 Banshees, and 13 Hellions. So the best unit he can be getting right now, and unfortunately he doesn't have it, he could make a ton of roaches and just roll over everything that the Terran has. He does have an Ultralisk Den coming up. I didn't like his Ultralisk play last time. There's less tanks on the map, less Thors, and a ton of Vikings, and only Hellions. The Ultralisks might be much more effective this time around.
Yeah, unfortunately, here go these Broodlords.
They are going to melt to that many Vikings, unfortunately.
Yeah, the Corruptors are quite a ways behind there.
Yeah, those Corruptors need to get in and take out the Vikings. There's even more. He's engaging the Corruptors into the towers, so they are going to get ripped apart. The Vikings are going to kite them, and those Corruptors and Broods are going to get cleaned up. There was an excellent fungal on the Vikings, but that's not going to be enough. So the Terran...
And unfortunately, I don't feel like he really had enough money to truly remax there on Ultralisks.
Yeah, I mean, up in his 4th base, he's not very saturated. In his 3rd, he is not even saturated. He is mined out in his main, and he is very close to mined out in his natural. So he is pretty short on... He should have at least another 20 workers. I do hear Banshee fire from somewhere.
Yeah, there's a Banshee down here.
Oh, he's taking out his 5th.
Base where all the Hellions are.
Yeah, that is about to drop. A whole bunch of Lings run in, and single Ultralisk, which is going to die to those tanks pretty quickly, but he is going to take out 2 tanks in the process. But he needs to keep those Ultras together. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Ultras are just so expensive, you can't run them in one at a time.
And he's really just out of money. As far as workers, 49 workers from our Zerg players, 68 still from our Terran.
Yep.
And those Banshees still continue to be obnoxious, and he's setting up his contain in the middle again here.
Yeah, he needs to get in with those Ultras. Well, there's only 4 tanks, 5 tanks, that's still going to do so much damage. These Vikings are useless at this point. So the Terran player does have a ton of supply locked up in useless Vikings, which he is presumably going to sack right now. And he is going to drop them and try and do a ton of damage, but yeah, he's forced to pick them up. Excellent amount of damage killing off those Corruptors, though. But he is back to Ultralisks. So what do we have?
these Hellions are going to come in and take out all of these drones over this other expansion here.
Ventral
And
Sax
other fighter leagues
is
are
being
on the way.
researched by the Zerg player, which is interesting. I'm not sure what he's going to do with that. I mean, he's definitely going to drop something, but I don't know where. Since we have...
Ultralist drop.
You never know. There's a million towers all over the map, though, so drops aren't going to be super viable.
Yeah.
And Flyer +3. And here come a ton of mutas. I actually really like this. Vikings aren't that great against mutas. There's no Marines. There's no Thors. So if he makes a ton of mutas, he's actually going to be able to do a ton of damage with them.
But like he has the income for the muta, though.
Yeah, he has enough to make 5 more right now. So he's really going to have to make some very good engagements. The Terran player has almost remaxed. Yeah,
I mean, supply-wise, he's just so far behind on money. And he's still down by, what is that, 50-some supply.
Yep. I really would have liked to... We're almost 70 supply at this point.
Yeah, almost 70 supply.
I really would have liked to see him hit a better Broodlord timing a little bit earlier before all those Vikings were out. And I would have liked to see him pull back a little bit earlier.
I think just letting them sort of die out there was a mistake.
Wow, that is so many tanks. Mr. Pi really likes to commit to one unit. He's got 16, 18, 19 tanks right in the middle of the map.
This one expansion over here is going to die to this Banshee.
Which one should I be looking at?
The
Nat.
His fourth.
Yeah, and there's mutas right next to it.
I know.
In come a bunch of Vikings, but unfortunately they are not going to be able to kite the Mutalisks, but he doesn't want to fly the Mutalisks into those million towers.
I think he's trying to bait him into the towers, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. So many towers are going down. He is basically just going to control that center of the map against ground and air. Trogdor just really, really needs some excellent engagements, which I'm not sure he's going to get. But... granted, he is taking the entirety of the map. He is letting the Zerg player, Mr. Pi is letting the Zerg player remax. Slowly but surely, he is letting him remax. But there's going to be a point where he runs out of bases and gets starved.
Well, and the problem here is, he's letting his opponent get remax, but he still is using up all the money that's coming in.
Yep.
Whereas 3P just has money to replenish his army, whereas, Trogdor just does not.
Yeah, he's just basically making a giant bank. A giant trust fund, if you will. And all the sensor towers, he knows where all the units are. So I'm interested. This reminds me of an actual game between, it was during Home Story Cup, it was Damaga against a Protoss player, where Damaga just kind of sat back and waited to max up, and he found the perfect engagement. While... as this move in, I'm not sure this is the perfect engagement that he's looking for, but we will see. Those Broodlings are going to force a ton of damage. He needs to move those mutas in to clear up those Vikings.
Yeah. Or does he have Seeker Missile?
He probably doesn't have enough energy for it if he does. He does not have it researched. Why is he flying those mutas away? He's just losing all of his Broodlords. The planetary does go down, but there are just so many tanks that are going to run the Ultras in to a ton of dank fire, and those Ultras are just going to die so quickly, and this looks like it's going to be GG.